Welcome back. China says trade talks with the United States, well, they're important, but other countries need to get involved to reach a comprehensive solution. The Chinese delegation, the World Trade Organization, said in a statement today, and I'm quoting, "We need to find the way out." Beijing and the Trump administration agreed to a 90-day semi-truce that lowered tariffs between the two countries earlier lowered. They said China just rescued Canada with $330 billion. The headline screamed it. Social media exploded with it. Clickbait videos pulled in millions, shouting that Beijing had bailed out Ottawa with one of the largest economic lifelines in world history, and that Donald Trump was stunned, furious, blindsided. It sounded like a geopolitical plot twist so massive it could only be true. But here is the thing, it is not. There is no Chinese rescue package. There is no $330 billion deal. It never happened. No government announced it. No credible financial outlet reported it. This was not a rescue. It was a rumor. And while everyone was distracted by fiction, the real story unfolding today, May 21st, 2025, is far more terrifying. Because the United States and Canada are not allies right now. They are combatants in an escalating economic war. And the front line is not a battlefield. It is a border, a tariff wall, a summit of world leaders pretending everything is fine when behind the scenes. It is anything but. Right now, G7 finance officials are meeting in B, Alberta, and the mood is not tense, it is combustible. The host, Canada, is staring down brutal 25% tariffs from its closest ally, the United States. President Donald Trump has thrown a diplomatic grenade into the summit by extending sweeping tariffs on Canadian aluminum, steel, lumber, and most importantly, automobiles. Trump claims it is about protecting American workers, but to Canadian officials, it is nothing short of economic sabotage. They are calling it existential. They are calling it war. Before we continue, hit that like button to help us beat the YouTube algorithm and to show your support. At the summit, European leaders are trying to hide their fury. British and German ministers are privately livid. Italy's finance minister has warned that if these tariffs are not rolled back, the G7 could fracture completely again. In 2018, the last time Trump imposed tariffs at a Canadian-hosted summit, the meeting collapsed into the infamous G6+1 disaster. Trump walked out, allies fumed, unity shattered. Today it is happening again, but worse. Because Trump's Liberation Day tariffs do not just target rivals, they are aimed at the heart of America's own alliances. Germany, Japan, France, Britain all face up to 35% duties on key exports to the United States by summer. Even Canada, America's most loyal neighbor, has been hit with tariffs so steep it is threatening the very survival of its manufacturing base. The auto sector is ground zero. More than 90% of Canadian-made vehicles are shipped straight to the United States. That pipeline, which has sustained hundreds of thousands of Canadian jobs for decades, is now collapsing. Automakers are halting exports, workers are being laid off, investment is fleeing. And just as this crisis hits, China steps in, not with a rescue, but with a gut punch of its own. In March, Beijing retaliated against Ottawa's own tariffs on Chinese steel and electric vehicles by slamming over $2.5 billion worth of Canadian agricultural exports. Canola oil, meal, pork, peas, all slapped with tariffs as high as 100%. Chinese officials claimed it was a proportional response. Canadian farmers call it a death sentence. One grower in Alberta summed it up in a single desperate sentence. "We will plant what we must even if no one buys it." This is not a lifeline from Beijing. It is a two-front war. China on one side, the United States on the other, and Canada caught in the middle, bleeding jobs, trade and trust. But Prime Minister Mark Carney is not playing the victim. He is hitting back. In April, his government launched a massive retaliation campaign, imposing 25% tariffs on $30 billion worth of US goods. Then came the second wave, another $29 billion in new tariffs targeting US steel, aluminum, and machinery. And that is not all. Carney has rolled out a brutal incentive system. Canadian manufacturers can avoid certain tariffs, but only if they commit to staying in Canada. Leave and you will be taxed. Stay and the government will shield you. This is not diplomacy. This is trench warfare with trade. And still the pressure is rising because the damage is not just across the border, it is inside the United States. What Trump calls economic strength, many call an economic trap. 12 US states from New York to Illinois to Oregon have filed a joint federal lawsuit against the president. They claim his Liberation Day tariffs are unconstitutional, that he used a phony emergency under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to bypass Congress and declare economic war on nations that simply have trade surpluses. These are not political stunts. These are official lawsuits filed by state attorneys general. And they are not alone. California has launched its own suit. Native American tribes have joined in. Even conservative-leaning states are starting to question whether this is leadership or madness. The core of the lawsuit is chilling. The states argue that Trump now claims the power to impose tariffs on any country, for any reason, at any rate, with no oversight, no limits, and no expiration. One state lawyer called it trade tyranny in real time. And they are not wrong because while Trump insists these tariffs protect American workers, the data shows a much darker picture. The effective US tariff rate is now at its highest level since the year 1943. That is not a typo. Not since World War II has the United States walled itself off from the world like this. And the costs are already hitting American consumers hard. Walmart, Target, Home Depot, they are all warning that prices are about to rise. Walmart issued a blunt statement this week. We can no longer absorb the costs. If these tariffs remain, prices will go up. Home Depot says it expects empty shelves. Target has slashed its earnings forecast for the year. When asked about this, Trump told retailers to eat the tariffs. That is not just callous. That is disconnected from reality because the math is simple. Importers pay tariffs at the border. If they cannot absorb them, the cost hits shelves. That means inflation. That means less spending. That means recession risk. And it is not just retail. At the Port of Los Angeles, the largest in the country, incoming cargo traffic dropped by 30% this month. 30%. That is a catastrophic number. It signals something worse than slowdown. It signals a system jamming up. Businesses are stockpiling goods or cancelling orders, and the Federal Reserve has taken notice this week. Fed officials warned that companies have run out of room to maneuver. No more front-loading shipments, no more offsetting costs. The next wave of inflation will not be theoretical. It will be real, visible, and painful. And while Fed officials issue warnings, the White House shrugs them off. Trump advisors insist there is no inflation, that tariffs are working, that Americans are not feeling the squeeze. But the data does not lie. Economists estimate the average American household will pay up to $3,800 more this year due to tariffs. That is the cost of a used car. That is a month's rent. That is food, gas, medicine gone. And while Trump says this is all worth it for American independence, even his own voters are starting to question whether freedom should come with a hidden tax. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button to show your support to the channel. So no, China is not rescuing Canada. Canada is not collapsing quietly. The United States is not thriving, and the global economy is not stable. It is cracking. Tariffs are spreading like wildfire. Trust is evaporating. Allies are becoming adversaries, and the machinery of global trade, the ports, the pipelines, the factories, is slowing down. The only question left is not if this gets worse, But when? And for the first time in decades, the answer might not be measured in trade deficits or export volumes. It might be measured in bankruptcies, inflation spikes, legal defeats, and the slow, painful realization that in a world built on cooperation, economic isolation is not power. It is suicide.